Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Viking Academy podcast. So, on this episode, I bring back my friend Walt Hampton. Now, Walt and I have known each other for a long, long time. Walt is a former trial lawyer turned business coach, turned focus on seminary, turned into a pastor of a multi-dimensional faith. No, sorry, not multi-dimensional. What am I looking for? Interfaith minister. He's an interfaith minister. Here's the thing. On this podcast, him and I just, he before we even got started, he asked me, he goes, okay, so what do you want to talk about, Eric? And I said, I have no idea. Let's just flow with it. And sure as shit, something beautiful came out of it. And literally, we talked about flow from the beginning. We talked about a couple things that really kind of rung my bell. One was what flow is and how it applies to your life and how you can find it in multiple areas, not just one thing. We talked about morning mindset, and one that I'm going to take away and use on a regular basis. And then the last one was this mic drop right at the end, the last part of the podcast. I highly recommend you listen to the whole thing. Right at the end, he does a mic drop on the story of Moses going up to the mountain to have a conversation with the burning bush, but then applies it to us as individuals. And I'm still trying to integrate exactly what he meant by that, but it was incredibly powerful and beautiful. I'm not going to give the spoiler away because that wouldn't make a lot of sense, would it? But there you go. So a great conversation with Walt Hampton. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did recording it and exploring it, shall we say. It was great. I just love these episodes that I go into, no idea. Most of them do, by the way. Most of my episodes I go in and I don't really know what we're going to talk about. But this one, really, there was nothing. It was a blank slate. Man, and the discovery was magical. So much fun. So there you go. Without further ado, let's go explore. Welcome back to the podcast, Walt.
So happy to be here, Eric. Thanks so much for inviting me back.
Oh, man. Well, I thought it would be a great way to start off the new year for both of us, right? Like just do a little catch up. And I'm very curious to hear where you're going now with your career and specifically on the spiritual side. That's where I keep hearing this from more and more professionals. There's a major shift, especially with the entrepreneurs. I mean, that's where we spend most of our time with entrepreneurs. There's a shift towards connecting back to our spirit and actually infusing that in. And so that's what I was very curious on, just giving a update of where you're at now.
Yeah,
on that.
I think you're so right. You know, after COVID and the isolation of those years, and the isolation built into entrepreneurship, axiomatically, as human beings, we want connection. We want connection to ourselves. We want connection to whatever that greater power is. And so I think being intentional and mindful of cultivating that in our lives, regardless of whether that's dialed into our professions per se or not. I mean, as you know, not a whole lot of people know, but as you know, I went back to seminary a number of years ago and I was ordained. And
I was there.
You were there. You were there. And I shepherd a lovely congregation. My primary work continues to be executive coaching, but I have found that over the years, since I went back to seminary, so much of my coaching work goes to those deeper places because people do want that.
Yeah. And here's an interesting thing. You said that it's a result of the COVID and the COVID. Listen to me. I sound like Grant Cardone, the COVID, right? As a result of COVID, and the isolation, and specifically with entrepreneurs, it is a lonely place because there's there statistically, true entrepreneurs is a very small percentage of this of the population. Um, so it's like a driver from within, but it's also I'm seeing a convergence from without as well. Like it's coming in from all sides.
Hmm.
Like soon as like you had these offers now to come in and take over those church the first church. You just it
Yes,
like it popped up and just showed up,
yes,
right? Which
yes,
wasn't you weren't seeking that out actively and it just showed up to you. So it's actually being drawn to you.
yes. Yeah, I think that's true. I think we see, I think we see out in the world to a call to connect, a call to spirit, even amidst the noise. I mean, it's easy to go deeply negative right now with everything that's going on in the world, but underneath that, there is our humanity, our desire to connect with one another, and I don't think spirit gives up on us.
Well, it's an alignment piece. There's something that just keeps coming back. This word coming back into my head is alignment, alignment, alignment.
Yes.
And a good friend of mine. Have you met Don Barden?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah. So Don wrote a new book. I just read his manuscript for his new book, and there was one line in there, and he said something that I think was incredibly beautiful. Was alignment isn't something you optimize; it's something you surrender to.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's like surrendering to our purpose, and like
Yes,
and aligning into that purpose. And like I'm watching you from criminal lawyer, defense lawyer to and going in into the entrepreneurial world and coaching entrepreneurs to leading congregations, right?
yes,
And to
yeah.
me, I can see that the arc to me seems very coherent, even though on the outside, if you explain it to someone, they'd be go, "What the fuck?" Do you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
they'd be going
Oh,
like
I do.
like
I sometimes
WTF, you know?
sometimes I do that.
Yeah, but it
No,
see like it, you know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, you've used the term alignment. I remember years ago when I ran the Grand Canyon, I was standing at the along the shores of the Colorado River at dawn and had this awareness of stepping into the flow. And I think when we step into the river, the flow of our life, that in and of itself, allowing that flow to take us, as it were.
Where where do you feel flow the most?
I feel flow the most when I don't try to grab hold too tight of anything. I feel flow when I'm working with a client that I've worked with for a long time. I feel flow when I'm doing my writing. I get lost in that. Flow is that state where you begin to lose track of time. That you so you feel so in the flow, so aligned with the work that that you're not looking at the clock, and that's a beautiful place to be. And more over time, I experience that. I'm certainly better now at saying no to what doesn't serve those things.
You just said something there that kind of made me give a little aha. When I think of flow state and purpose, like what my purpose is and alignment and flow, I kind of think of
Hmm.
them all as synonyms in a way.
Hmm.
They're it, a lot of the time I've seen people focus, and myself is included, because I'm not immune to this because I'm human. Last time I checked, is that it's I'm looking for that one thing. But you just said something there that was very clarifying for me and opening, like it expanded. You experience flow through a lot of different activities. Like it's not just the one. Do you know what I mean? Like people are always like, "What's the one thing?" Like the book, The One Thing, and finding that your unique ability, which is something we talk about a lot on the podcast, because I have a lot of people in strategic coach, and it's one of the central themes. Like, what is your unique ability? And so it always looks to that one thing. But you just said it. You're experiencing it in multiple areas of your life, of activities in your life, shall I say?
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Dan Sullivan and Strategic Coach, and Thank God nobody holds a gun to my head and says to me that I have to do one thing. I mean, I step into the flow when I'm backcountry skiing or doing high altitude mountaineering or preaching before a congregation or writing a Substack piece or creating a new product or program. I mean, I suppose that I could come and manufacture a common thread or pull a common thread by and among those. But I years ago, my own coach said to me, "Follow the heat," and I said to her, "WTF? I have no idea what that means." Uh, After all of these decades of working with her and finding flow in my life, I think we each of us has a gravitational pull to a thing or to things. And that natural gravitational pull is where we are drawn to because they light us up, they allow us to express our gifts in a beautiful way in the world. And they are, in fact, that aligned or flow state, I think. For me, it's not one thing.
Yeah. And that was because I was thinking about this too, like, because all this, I shouldn't say all, that's a bad sentence to say to start with, but self-help books, or they talk about the geniuses of the world, or the people, the high performance, right? The high performance, like call it the Ronaldos of soccer, or the Steffi Grafs of tennis, or Tiger Woods of golf. I'm just picking some sports
Hmm.
here. Is that they just one point focus, boom, put all your energy into that one thing, and that's how you become this great phenom. And and I'm just reframing this whole thing. It's like, because I it was funny, I was on a call yesterday, again, the strategic coach, it was the Free Zone Connect call, and Shannon Waller, she said something to me. She goes, "Oh my God, Eric, you're such a walking contradiction." Because because we were talking about the fact that I play in a heavy metal band, that I've got a degree in accounting and psychology, and I'm running the accountant success formula, the Viking Academy. She says there's just so many things. It's like you're a walking contradiction, right? And um, and I was kind of thinking about that, and I go, but in each one of those things, what you just said is that I can experience flow in each one of those activities,
Hmm.
but within each of those businesses or those things, there is parts where I don't experience flow, right?
Hmm.
Where, like, in our businesses, like, let's just look at the business, for example. Like, if I had to go and manage, if you had to manage your social media account, Walt, how would you feel?
Yeah, I think I would not be in flow, Eric.
Shoot me now. Shoot me now. You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
but within all these different areas, you can find your flow inside of, yeah. So I'm kind of carving it up into different areas, but within those areas, you can find flow. And do you think flow is more in alignment, if we were to try and conceptualize it, I want to say globally, but just kind of like holistically, it's being completely present.
Oh, when you are aligned and in flow, you have the capacity to be deeply present, and usually are. I mean, with all the distractions in our lives, we need to be more mindful about creating the situational container that allows us to do that. If I want to write an article or put together a sermon, I certainly don't have my iPhone next to me because that will take me that external force will take me out. So I want to create the environment for flow around me. But yes, I mean, I think we love so much those things that give us flow that we lean into them and can lose ourselves in them.
Do you find that in well, I just likened that when I had my motorcycle, I was riding my Harley, and I was like, you cannot be not present. Because if you're not present, you're dead,
Well,
right? Like you,
yeah, that's like ice climbing for me, or climbing a big wall, rock climbing. Or backcountry skiing in and among the trees. If you're not present, that's a bad thing.
yeah, bad things happen. but not necessarily, but being completely present in that activity. Would you define that as flow though? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think we naturally we're trying to put a label to it. Um, I think all of us have a sense, and maybe this comes back to the unique ability that there are things, activities in our life that we do that we don't have to strong arm, that we don't have to muscle our way through, that they unfold naturally for us, that they are almost easy, if you will. There's just an ease to it. We're not doubling down. We're taught culturally, you got to muscle, you got to struggle, you got to create the big, hairy, audacious goal and go at that, throw your entire life at that. Um, and that sounds like work to me.
but then on the flip side, when you do love it, you do the work.
Yeah, I mean, like you, if people looked at my life, they'd think, as there was something not quite right. If I spend, 7 hours in sub-zero temperatures up on the mountain behind us, Mount Washington here in New Hampshire, where it's, last night it was minus 80 degrees, that wouldn't look like fun for some people. But so the things that draw me can be objectively challenging and hard, but they're a natural, those are the things for me that draw me, being in the outdoors.
So there is it. I'm more. I don't think I'm trying to label this so much, Walt, as I'm just trying to explore it to understand it
Yeah.
more fully. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's that, and it would seem to me that there's an innate internal divining rod, that we could
Hmm.
call it, that is drawing me to certain things and drawing me away from and pushing me away from other things. Right?
Yeah, I
Like what
call that a gravitation. It was the gravitational force. We're drawn to things.
yeah, yeah. Like for example, like it was I was at a different meeting, a totally different meeting. And the conversation came around and I was talking and I was sharing the fact that I play in this heavy metal band, right? 80s heavy metal. I'm playing, White Snake, Iron Maiden,
Mm-hmm.
great stuff. And we're really ramping it up in 2026. The Rain Down is starting to play like almost monthly. We're gonna go be playing a show almost every month, right? And I'm lighting up like a Christmas tree, and I'm talking about this is just I love this.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the members after the meeting, he pulls me over and he says, kind of with his cowboy drawl, he goes, "Do you got any steel guitars and fiddles in that band?" And I went, "No." And he goes, "Then it ain't real music." And then he drove away, right? And I'm like, yeah. So he was like, what you're doing, I can't stand it. Right. He couldn't
Yeah.
stand it. And I used to feel, and I think this maybe comes with age and experiences. I used to feel kind of, oh, well, then am I doing something wrong? I think that's that herd mentality, like trying to stick in with the group. And, or I'd get upset. That was the second reaction I'd have, like, well, screw you. And the third one, when he did that, I just smiled inside because I went, I get to experience this thing I really love. He doesn't love it, but he gets to go experience the thing he really loves. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll turn on the country twang. I went through a phase where I was wearing the Stetson and the cowboy boots, and I went to all the, country bars, and I still like country to a certain degree. But it's like, it's that allowing someone else to completely do what they like to do and do what I like to do. And I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, and so when he said that, it was interesting because I didn't have that immediate reaction trying to defend what I do against what someone else thinks. Right? It's like not giving, not, and it's not giving a shit about what somebody thinks about it. It's actually, it felt more holistic in terms of I love what I do and I love the fact that he loves what he does. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. And not everything needs to be optimized in 10x,
Yes.
because some of the most magical flows are those really simple moments that you have with your daughter or your amazing wife. Some of the most magical moments are, for Ann and me coming off a long mountain climb and the light is just fading and the woods are crisp, super still. And you know, those are moments of pure magic where for me, I connect with spirit and the divine in those moments. And you don't immediately turn around and say, yeah, I got to 10x this. It's just you sink into the experience of it.
And is it, well, obviously it would be. It's completely individual.
Oh,
Like it's so
absolutely.
individual. I think I've shared this with you before. I think the big I had this moment, aha moment. I was walking with a friend, and then all of a sudden I turned to him and I said, "Did you feel that breeze?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "You felt it differently than I did." And he said, "What?" And I said, "That breeze that just came through, I felt it differently than you did." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I think that's the greatest gift the creator gave us is us.
Hmm.
Like that is the ultimate, I think, gratitude that I ever feel is going, holy shit, like creator created Eric and I get to experience Eric and nobody else gets to experience Eric at all. Right. And jokingly, we've said, thank God for that. Right. But
I,
I, you
I,
know,
I,
but
I, re I restrained myself.
you did, but I saw it cranking through your head. Okay. No, I saw that shit. Okay. But you know what I'm getting at?
Yes, I
Like
do.
it's this joyful um realization that the creator loves me so much that he gave me.
Hmm.
And it's not narcissistic and it's not egotistical. Like it's there's a different
No.
like it's not that, oh, I'm so wonderful bullshit. It's like I just think it's so awesome that all Walt's experiences and all the things that you do, you're the only person to can experience it. You can be on the mountain with Anne,
Hmm.
but Anne's not experiencing the same thing that you are.
Correct. Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
and I think that is just for me, that like fills me with so much gratitude.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I'm no longer that I don't I'm no longer jealous about what somebody else is doing,
Hmm.
right? Which I see happen sometimes in the entrepreneurial space. People are always comparing themselves to other people, right? I'm comparing my business to that business and versus vice versa. Instead, just being grateful for what you have and focusing on that changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah. And being able to support and wish them well. Part of the culture of isolation is, that we have to, quote, beat the competition. And I think coming from a place of, recognizing our uniqueness in the universe, there is no competition if we step into that. The way I do my coaching, the way you do your coaching, I think both really powerful. I think we're both really powerful coaches and we're different coaches. And my people will gravitate to me and your people will gravitate to you. And there's enough to go around.
Oh, true that.
Hmm.
So true. There's more, there's an unlimited abundance
Yes.
available.
Yeah. Well, that's not culturally um, accepted, if you will. It's, we're taught that we have to go out onto the entrepreneurial battlefield and beat our way to the top culturally.
Yeah, but isn't that also just conditioning over millennia because we're really like we're animals at the deepest level, like in survival instinct is where it all drives from, is trying to survive and if you're not um like I was just reading up on some of the research that Darwin did when he was
Hmm.
looking at his there's this great book I'm reading called uh, Primal Intelligence by Angus Fletcher.
Hmm.
It's a brilliant read. He was talking about the research that Darwin was doing, and he was looking at this before Darwin came up was this was it Origin of the Species? Is that what he?
Yes,
Yeah,
or that was his.
He was the idea was that there was complete divine order and everything was in complete order naturally by the creator. And then he looked at this one group of birds that overproduce. So there was too many offspring. They would actually produce multiple offspring. Like, and it seemed to run against the tide of the thinking at the time, which is like, well, how is there an intelligence? Because there's too many babies and not enough food. Well, they'd produce so many babies, and the ones that were strongest and fought for the food would survive and win, and they would end up reproducing, which then kind of tied into Darwin's theory of evolution, which was the strongest survive, and then those traits get passed on, and then the weaker ones died off. And so I think I was thinking about that, going, that innate fighting for survival, like that's built in and is built into humans. It's still there, but it's clouded by what our reality is today. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like we're fighting for survival when, let's say in the majority, like if you're living in the Western world, you're in the top 1% of the wealthiest people, even if you don't have a house and you're on the street, you're like still wealthier than and have more access to stuff than anywhere else. So we don't need to fight for survival, so to speak, but we're doing it anyway. So it's got to be in our DNA and our conditioned being. Like,
I think there's a nuance there because we're, as Homo sapiens, we are herd animals, and a lot of our fear that crops up is that we will be left on the savannah to be devoured by the woolly mammoths. And so, yes, the fear precipitates the fighting to stay part of the herd. And I think, my assessment, my articulation is that we take that to the extremes so that we're fighting unnecessarily, especially now, as you suggest.
Yeah, and that's what, like, I've been thinking about this, like forging a new operating system. Something that came to mind, very, very Viking, right? Very Viking. Like, how do we like forge a new operating system? Forge a new operating system to see exactly how powerful we are, but not in a domineering sense powerful, but how we can overcome our internal conditioning and our conditioning that we've been doing over and over and over, and it's just in our DNA. I mean, it's subconscious, unconscious, whatever you want to call it. And so seeing it is, for me, what I'm seeing is like an enlightenment, an awakening. Sure. You go, oh, I've been acting like an asshole, like, right? And then that recognition of it, that we're actually more powerful than our subconscious subroutines, right? It's overriding those, and it's just been kind of ruminating in my head for quite some time. Like, and what is that? What is it? And from your experience, and this is why I'm really kind of curious on this, especially from leading and going through seminary and leading congregations and your coaching and being a defense lawyer and all your experience of being a single father and raising your kids on your, like, what is that? How do you see people breaking out of that conditioned being and awakening to the possibility that we're actually more powerful than we think we are, and that we can change, and that we can get away from our programming, so that we're not hurting ourselves and others anymore?
Well, it starts with an awareness of the principle you're articulating, and that's part of the challenge. The reason you and I write, the reason you have this beautiful podcast is we have conversations like this that hopefully will pique the interest of your audience. The things I write will hopefully trigger somebody to see the possibility. Because if we go through life on cruise control and we are not aware of that, then we just it's the definition of insanity, keep on doing the same things, expecting different results. But when you're awakened to the possibility, then you seek out other opportunities to deepen that. And hopefully, it's part of the work you and I do as coaches. You seek out a wise guide to take you by the hand and walk you toward that place where you have an even deeper understanding of the possibilities. I don't know what I would do without the coach I have worked with for the last 14, 15 years. She has become such a, not only just a business coach and a life coach, but in a sense, a spiritual companion along the way. And I think we need that. We need one another in order to go to that place you're suggesting.
Yeah, on the business side, I always say to people, I go, if you have a coach who doesn't have a coach, you need a new coach.
Oh, I do a lot of coach training, as you know, and I will not take on a candidate for coach training unless they have a coach. Just won't do it. Good coaches have coaches.
Yes, good coaches have coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's that's what Dan Sullivan's my coach. And I love every time I'm with him, and this is the thing is he gives me he opens up awareness and new possibilities for me to think differently. It's like, what is that? There was a quote, all these great books I've been reading, like this quote, that a mind stretched by a new idea can never go back to its same shape.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
It's like just opening up the awareness and being open to being surprised too, that childlike curiosity and just being curious and explore and being open to being surprised. It's that this is the book Back to Primal Intelligence. It was talking about how special ops people end up having PTSD, and how to deal with that is getting back the positive surprises and getting back to kind of like that wonder and that childhood wonder of going back in your past and saying, where was I surprised? Something really bad happened in my past, but it surprised me because it turned into being gold. It turned into being something good, right? Like, and if I go back into my history, it's pretty simple and easy. I don't have to go back that far. Just saying, here's these negative things that happened, but it surprised me because it turned out to be a positive.
Yeah.
And so it's this childlike surprise and wonder of going, oh, like, and so that means that actually heals people with PTSD, like actually can stop them from disassociation or anger or all the negative feelings of that. And that is some major, major trauma stuff that these guys go through.
Oh, sure.
What about if us simpletons that are not having to deal with those, we're dealing just with the fact that my mommy didn't love me enough, right? There's my childhood trauma that I can actually see that it actually worked for me because there's a surprise in it. Right. So then and so for me, it's this going forward and going, if I get up in the morning, that's okay. There's where the thought was. I thought about this last night. So if I wake up tomorrow morning and go, I wonder what today's going to bring me. Like, I wonder what surprise I'm going to find today. What's going to be, what am I, like when we were children, we would always find something new and exciting. And we were living in that kind of open, joyous state. And I don't know, like you can explain this better than me, but isn't that also one of the tenets of being childlike, like the script, like in the spiritual teachings? It's like, don't be childish, but be more childlike.
Yes. Yeah. Playful, curious.
Playful, curious, playful and curious, and open to surprise and wonder.
I love that. And the question that you ask is similar to the question I ask. I mean, I've just trained myself. Both Ann and I have trained ourselves. It's one of the very first questions we talk about in the morning. What amazing opportunities will come our way today?
Yeah.
What amazing opportunities will come our way today? There's lots of shit that comes our way as business people, as human beings. But what we focus on, we see. If we want to focus on everything that's going horribly wrong in the world, well, we'll get stuck in that. But if we're looking for the opportunities, if we're looking for the grandeur, the beauty. We'll see more of that for sure. But that's training of the mind. That's intention.
Right. And there's where that alignment comes in with the body, mind, and spirit, right?
Yes.
That's what I keep thinking about with the Viking Academy is this exploration of the body, the mind, and the spirit, but it's about individual, like, so we're exploring those individual areas, but inadvertently every call, every podcast I have guest, we end up talking about all three and
Yes.
how it integrates and aligns. Once you have an alignment, or shouldn't, maybe that's not the right word. When it aligns and you feel alignment, then you have flow.
Well, yes. And, just to kind of ground that principle, um, these bodies are pretty special treasures. I mean, they are, our human experience is precious. And this vehicle that we have, um, like every high performance vehicle, requires care. And when we do not give it the care that it deserves, and we're feeling horrible because, we've had too much to drink, or we've just binged over the holidays, and we're not feeling well in our bodies, then it's very difficult to look for what's going well in the world. Or it's very difficult to think about, where is the flow, the spiritual flow. So they do, body, mind, and spirit all work in conjunction. And it's very easy to get out of alignment if you ignore one of those components.
Yeah, I could. It's like you were reading my mail. This over the Christmas. Was way too much sugar, and man, that sugar. Like I found, I've been off the sugar for a long time, and now I find that I have just a little bit. I end up feeling like absolute shit.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's, me, as a endurance athlete, I decided a number of years ago, going on probably 8 or 9 years ago, that I didn't want to drink anymore because I was detoxing at night. I'd wake up in the morning not really focused. And, I love a good craft beer or a nice glass of Malbec, but I know that it doesn't keep the machine in a happy, optimized place, and it impacts my ability to connect with flow, with alignment, with the divine, with the things that I love to do.
Right.
And so we make choices.
Yeah. My in my case, it was a little different than that. It wasn't. I enjoy you said I enjoy a craft beer or a glass of wine. In my case, I enjoy a keg of beer or I enjoy a case of wine over 3 days and copious amounts of cocaine to go with it. Right? Like there was. I always laugh when I hear people going, "We really enjoy a nice glass of wine," and I'm like, I do not understand that. I don't. I don't. I don't understand that at all.
It's a whole different type of flow, Eric.
Oh,
It's more
there's
like
a
a
yeah,
like a
that's a
dangerous waterfall.
yeah, that's a flow that's just yeah, we can go
Yeah.
down a whole another rabbit hole on that one. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So so here's the question. How are like you've now moved from the last church you were at, you've moved to a new one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And like how many people are you what's your congregation? What's your herd?
About 50 or 60 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
That must be that's a good size to get very close with everybody.
Oh, it's a lovely size. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a growing congregation, a vibrant congregation. Uh, but you do get to know people at a very deep level. It's the work of a pastor is not superficial.
Um, so when you were ordained, it was
Mhm.
and please correct me because I'm probably going to get this wrong. It was inter
Faith.
interfaith
Yes.
ordainment. So it was because really cool when I was at your ordainment because there was all sorts of different people and they was it a combination of two? Did everyone have to have at least two?
So
Or how did that work?
when I went back to seminary, we had to declare a major and a minor, if
Okay.
you will,
Yes.
a primary tradition to focus on, and a secondary tradition. And my faith tradition of birth was Christianity. I had floated around. I mean, I've done a lot of work in Buddhism and Hinduism and, Eastern traditions and New Age thought and all of that. But I thought, okay, well, my tradition growing up was Christianity, so I'm going to make that my primary tradition. And then um, I've always been interested in Native American spirituality, so I designated that as my secondary tradition, and I went deep in that, studying the traditions and practices of Native American communities. I think over 500 tribes, and that was beautiful work.
I love the interconnectivity of the Native American thinking, like the more
Yes.
like the birds, the trees, the like, and growing up on the west coast of Canada, it was steeped into our um, education as well. So we learned a lot about what the totems meant and how the
Mhm.
spirit animals were all in, but it's all this interconnected. Um, that there's a spirit for the bear, and there's a spirit bear, and there's a spirit for the whale, and um,
Yes.
how much of that, so that interfaith, here's where my question is like when you are with your congregation, how much do you feather in any of that into your sermons, or do you not? Do you keep it out?
Oh, no, no, all of the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a wedding not long ago where I called in the directions and and invited back in the ancestors into the ceremony. There are so many elements that are beautiful in other traditions, and not to appropriate them or misappropriate them, but to deepen our experience of our own spirituality. Because I believe that these traditions are all fingers pointing at the same moon, as the Buddhists say.
Yes. Yeah. I've had lots of conversations about this at every, having done, I haven't gone as deep as you have, but I have read and studied all sorts of different religions, and I'm like, they're all pointing at the same thing. As you say, they're
Hmm.
pointing at the same moon. Well, that's cool. Because I never asked you that question before, because I wasn't sure how much of it you actually got to put into because the church you're at, what is the denomination?
It's a Christian denomination. It's United Church of Christ.
Okay, so United Church. So was whether or not you could bring in the other aspects of your trainings and teachings and understandings and
Yes,
the
it's a very
teaching.
progressive. The
That's
the denomination is a rather progressive
that's good.
denomination, and it allows a lot of creativity and latitude, which
You
I
know,
which I joyfully take.
that so for me, that's one of the quotes I have on the Viking Academy website is from Krishnamurti, and is that
Hmm.
a mind that is constantly learning can never be hurt.
Oh, exactly. Yes, I love that.
And so that's that joyous discovery, or exploration and discovery, and not getting closed minded and saying this is the one and only way you can attach to your spirit, right? And that's why the Viking Academy has we have no denomination, right? Like there's like the Viking Academy, I talk about Odin a lot, or I talk about the All Father and some of the spirits, but it's not like they're coming here to do pagan rituals, right? It's like you can take all aspects of, just go out and explore and find what works for you and integrate that into yourself. Like bring those pieces that resonate with you, and you can pull it together, right? And then it becomes fuller. And then don't close off. Like never close off. Always have that childlike wonder and exploration and curiosity. And I like what you said, like what amazing opportunities are going to come to me today. What is the world going to surprise me with today that I'm going to be able to take, integrate into myself, and expand what I'm
Hmm.
experiencing.
One of my very favorite passages from the Hebrew Bible is the story of Moses going up on the mountain to get the Ten Commandments, and he finds the burning bush. The bush is burning. and God speaks to Moses, and Moses wants to know who this is that's speaking to him. And so God, he asks the bush for its name, and he says, Yahweh, I am. And Moses asks him again, like, that's kind of insufficient. And the bush says, I am who I am. And I think that all of the problems of humanity down through the ages have been due to our desire, our need to add an object to the subject. I am Christian, I am Buddhist, I am, this white privileged man, I am whatever, because when we put an object to the subject, we limit the limitless.
You just stopped my thinking right there. That was beautiful. No, seriously, like, so it's like in the Tao, it says that which is named the Tao is not the Tao. That which you call the Tao is not the Tao. It's so when you say that's God, well, that's not God, because you just called it, you made it an object.
Exactly.
And you're up, and so if we apply that to ourselves, I am that I am.
Yeah, I am, but unlike, for you and me in our early professions, I am a lawyer, I am a trial lawyer, I am an accountant. Those labels are, the label, well, I would say I'm a trial lawyer because that means I'm like really important in this room. But those labels are limiting. It comes back to our conversation at the beginning about, one's unique ability and the one thing. It's limiting. And if we're made in the image of the divine, arguably we have unlimited capacity.
I'm going to put a button in it right there. That was beautiful. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's stick a pin in it right there, because I think that is the hanger. We'll leave that as the cliffhanger forever.
That's right.
Listeners to just kind of soak on that one and going, I am the subject, not the object. What the fuck what was he talking about? What was Walt talking about? My face is melting. Yeah, I'm gonna need some time to integrate that. We're gonna leave it right there, man.
Such a gift to be with you, man.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast again, Walt. We're gonna do this again.
All right, we will.
Okay, brother. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Viking Academy podcast. Make sure to leave us your honest feedback by leaving a review on Apple or Spotify, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.